Yo, what's going on, everyone? This is Conversations with Brian and Elijah, episode number 15. And today we have a very special guest, Mr. Abhijit. Is that how you pronounce it?
That's right, Abhijit Singh.
There it is.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and introduce Abhijit. So Abhijit is my friend that I met in ninth grade. And Abhijit's like one of the smartest guys I know. I love talking to him. We always just go on and on and on. And stuff about Abhijit, and you tell me if anything has changed, but you're super interested in computer science. You love engineering. You're going to go to UC Davis. And you did the STEM program for the last 2 years of high school, right? Or the last 3 years of high school.
Last 3 years, yeah.
Yeah, you were an IB with me freshman year, and then you did STEM. Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about the education system. Me and Abhijit we're fresh out of high school, so we want to talk about that. And really we want to just go on like some of the problems we have with it and some of the solutions and like what we'd like to see changed within the education system in the United States. So
Yeah. I think I'm always super fascinated about this convo. And I think the three of us are particularly, we have a lot to say because you guys have just gotten out of the, K through 12 system. I'm finishing what's called higher education system, right?
Yep.
So I think we have the three of us have interesting perspectives. But what I think is the most fascinating, and I think where we should start off is perhaps why education is so important, especially in the US, right? So my take on this is why education is so important, I would say, is because I think we live in a society that is reliant on skill acquisition, right? I think we talked about this in previous podcasts, right? So if you're low skill in a capitalistic environment, you probably won't perform very well.
Yeah.
Like your monetary value won't be that great, right? Whereas a route to increase your skills is to get an education, right? So if the education system is bad and nobody's able to acquire skills, then of course everyone, you're not going to be able to provide a livable wage for yourself, right? So, education is one way, trade school is another way, but I definitely think that the education system in that sense is a tad bit broken.
Yeah, I want to start off with a question. I agree with you there. One of the things that I think why education is super important is, would you guys agree that when you have a population, and first of all, when it comes to education, right, I want to define that right from the start. When I think of a person that's educated, it doesn't necessarily mean they have a degree, right? That doesn't do anything for me. Someone that's educated is someone that can like entertain two sides of the argument. They know a lot about the subject. That's a person that's educated. So it's not that traditional you know what I mean? So if we're going off of that, why do you think that why do you think that we're starting to get a system where like, I guess I'm kind of going off of what you said, but like, why are we so focused on like qualification and not like the actual like learning about a subject, where like more of like just getting a degree?
Well, I think there's really two parts to it. One would be probably validation, right? Your parents are doing so much for you. They've got this dream, and they rightfully have that dream as well. But I guess I could explain my side of the story real quick. So I'm an immigrant, and my parents, they were able to make it out of their country. They were able to come here, and the tool they used was education, right? They used college that was able to get them a job in the US, and then they were to come here legally. So I think seeing that, they just want to see that pattern, and for them, it worked out for them, and so they want to see that work out for me. And I think that's like the same for probably a lot of other families as well. So I think that would be one thing. The second thing is, it's pretty hard to evaluate someone's skill, right, off of just an interview. So you got to take a look at their degree from whatever university they come from as well, because you can give some credit to that university for teaching that individual, like let's say UC Davis has like an excellent engineering program or something like that, right? You can say that's reliable. They've probably taught most of their students to be good engineers or something of the sort, right? Whether, of course, that's not always true, but I think you could reliably say like maybe like 60-70% of the people that come out of there would probably be good engineers. So it's a metric for employers to be able to say, okay, this person is worth even looking at.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's interesting. One thing that came to mind, there's this group of computer science high school grads that are interested in computer science, but a lot of them are self-taught computer science people. So what they're doing is they're applying to like MIT and Harvard and like all these really prestigious schools, and then them getting accepted and not going, and then going their own route, to where when they go to a job, they say, hey, look, I was good enough to get accepted into this school, but I just didn't go because I'm self-taught and, I don't need to go there to learn more.
Dude, I didn't know that.
Yes, it's an interesting, like, you just kind of say, okay, I got in, and isn't that proof enough that I'm worthy of said job, But yeah, it's an interest. Yeah, validation, I think, is for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. But
yeah.
How would you guys define education then? Would you agree with my definition? I don't know. Like, it's something the internet was cutting out when I was saying that, so I don't know if you guys could hear me. But would you agree that education is like being able to entertain both sides of an argument or be really knowledgeable in the subject? It's not just like the degree.
Well, yeah, I don't think anyone would say that a degree is equivalent to, being intelligent or even education. Education, I think the point of it is, like, one aspect is to definitely be open-minded, right? Like you said, entertaining both sides, but it's also to be able to know what you want to do and why you want to do it. Because if you don't know why you want to do something, you have no motivation to continue doing it, right? So I think that part of education also needs to be there. So I think that's something else.
Yeah, I think that second part might be something that's kind of lost. I think especially in the higher education system, because, for me in particular, I don't know, I feel like college made me more confused because I was exposed to so many different things, and I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. That's kind of cool too. And like, going into college, I was like, okay, I think I want to be a lawyer. And then I went into college and I, took all these classes and joined these clubs, and I was like, okay, wait a minute, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool too. So I don't know if is that valuable to society if, everyone kind of likes everything, or
yes, this is perfect.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
So something that I wanted to ask Jeet about is, so I think that curiosity is the foundation of learning, right? Like, if you can get people curious about something, then they're going to want to learn more about it. But I hold the belief that school, a lot of the times, is killing that curiosity, right? So you do all these subjects and it doesn't become so much you're curious and have more questions about the subject, but you're bombarded with a bunch of work. So now it's like work, and you start to associate that negative emotion with that subject. So then you end up not liking anything, and it seems like a bunch of work. But my teacher, Mr. Scott, shout out Mr. Scott. He was my astronomy teacher. He was super passionate about astronomy, and he got us more curious, and we kept leaving the class. I'd always be late to my third period because I had him second period. I'd always be late because I'd have more questions, and we'd just be talking at the end of class, just going back and forth. And, eventually I had to leave because he had a new class and I had to go to my class. But that is a great teacher right there. And that's how education should be. Not just, do this work and then let's build that negative association to it and then make kids hate everything. And I think that's
why speaking of negative associations as well, like I think a lot of people have mentioned this, but there's such like a negative connotation when it comes to reading. Like, people just hate reading now. And it's because they've had to read, like, literature, like fictitious books. I'm not saying that they're necessarily bad, but that's not for everyone. And I personally find it, like, it's very important to consume knowledge that's useful, right? I don't want to be wasting my time, like, absorbing stuff that isn't necessarily useful. So they build these like negative connotations around sometimes the subjects they teach through homework, or even just like generally through reading. Like, not a lot of Americans read, right? That's pretty disappointing, I'd say.
Yeah, no, that's really true. I think it's the same principle, like you said. Like, when they force you to read books that you don't want to read, I mean, then yeah, you start to make reading becomes work, right? You don't see, like, if we could show people, like, here's a book and it has knowledge in it, and then you can use that knowledge and it can make your life better, or you could solve this problem that you're trying to solve, people would go, wow, reading is a tool, right? It's a tool that you could use. And like, we're not doing that now. Like reading, I think most people, I want to take a poll on this. I want to ask people, how do you view reading? And I want to know if they would choose work or if they would choose it as a tool. And I guarantee you 90% would probably say it's work.
So they have that like negative association with reading, maybe because they didn't have a good first exposure to it,
Yeah, like in elementary school, Brian, I don't know if you had to do AR. Did you have to do AR?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
What is that? Garbage. AR is garbage, dude. You have to get a certain amount of points, but the system is so rigged because like you have to basically they basically choose the books they want you to read, because in order to meet your criteria, you have to read this fiction book that is 5 points. And if you don't read that, the nonfiction is only worth half a point. Why? Why is that only half a point? It's like they're trying to encourage you. Like literally, they're incentivizing you not to read nonfiction. Why?
That's actually, I remember, I think did they give you guys like a list, right? They gave you guys a list of what each book was worth in terms of points and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mine was ascending, where it was like the book that had the highest amount of points was like on the last page or something like that. So I scrolled all the way to the last one, and I was okay, if I read this book, I will literally knock out all my AR points that I need for the whole semester. So I was like, okay, no matter how much this book sucks, I need to read this book.
Sounds like
because
work.
because I just want to get those points done, right? So I think it was like
Harry Potter. Oh, okay.
No, I don't know. It was like a Charles Dickens, or I don't know what. It was like this crazy book
Something
that was
boring.
like,
yeah,
it was like really really long. And like I was okay, I'll just finish this book, whatever. And then at the end of it, it was like, okay, I barely passed it to get because I think you had to get like 80% in order to get full points.
Yeah,
or something like
exactly.
That.
Yeah.
And so like I barely passed it, and it was worth it because I knocked out all my AR points. But it just gave me such like a negative view of like reading,
Exactly. And it's like my 8th grade teacher kind of changed that on its head. He was kind of like a anti-rule follower, not an anti-rule follower, but he kind of like, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to teach these kids how I want to teach them. I know what's important. And the teacher he was great. Anyways, he had reading logs. He's like, no, we're not doing AR. We're done with that. But he's like, I want you guys to read and then write down some bullet points. And yeah, a lot of kids like low-key cheated and like wrote some bullet points and like just copied from other people. So they read, but they didn't read. But like for me, I was like, okay, I'm going to be honest with it. And like, I literally just read whatever and it was okay. And like all the books that I read that I couldn't use towards AR, I, sometimes use the bullet points on them because I already read them. Like, but that right there, like him giving me the freedom to learn what I want to learn, let me read what I want to read. It made me love reading.
And I think like a big part of reading is also like consuming what you want to learn, right? So like what you're saying, you want to learn what you want to learn. And that goes back to what Brian was saying as well about exposure. Like you need to be exposed to as many subjects, as many like, fields as soon as possible, not just in college. Because while you're in college, you're giving the money, like you're on a time limit, right? You're on a time limit. But you have like 12 years before that. They should be dishing out all sorts of stuff, trying to see what engages your interest. And then from there, you can read the books you like. From there, you can, go and develop your interests. You can even apply to MIT and reject them, right? So like, that's how you're able to do those things. But that exposure has to happen early on. It can't just happen in college.
Yeah. So something that is a little bit off topic, but still, kind of switching gears a little bit. I always debate this. How much generalized information should we be giving out versus specific, right? So like I don't really believe that we need to learn all these, different subjects, but I do think that there needs to be some type of general knowledge of them too. So like, who's to decide that? And like, I don't even know how that works now. Like, who is writing our curriculum and who makes them credible? Like, who says that, hey, you're allowed to decide what the whole nation is going to learn. Who decides who passes on the knowledge? But not to go on to that right now. We'll go on to that in a second. But how do you balance between generalized information and specific? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think there's like I think each school district has a particular set of curriculum guidelines that they pass, and then textbooks are written based on what those guidelines are, right? So like, some textbook publisher will look at what the guidelines are and then write a textbook that meets all those guidelines. And I think there's like state guidelines, state minimum guidelines, and like, I don't know if there's federal minimum guidelines.
Well, I think there's federal now with Common Core, because I think Common Core, like in order to get federal funding for education, you have to adopt.
Actually, let's come to Common Core later. That's like a really interesting topic. Have you seen like how they make you do math?
Yeah, dude, it's insane.
But we'll come back to that later. But what you were talking about, where should we stop the general education? That's a good question, because obviously everyone needs to know how to add. Everyone needs to know how to, divide.
Yeah.
So where's that barrier? Where do we stop?
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, go ahead, Brian.
Well, it's like, okay, adding, subtracting, dividing, all that stuff. Like, as much as you might not like to do it, I would say like everyone needs to know how to do it, right? Mm-hmm. And then the thing that I've struggled with too is like writing, right? Everyone, I like to write, but there are some people that just don't like writing, and in college in particular, I think you have to take like 2 or 3 like writing classes. And so I don't know how much can you generalize writing, right? Besides just doing it. Like if you're not going to be a journalist or like a writer, do you really need that? Or is like every job you need to learn how to write? It's difficult, like the transfer over from generalized to like specialized job skills,
Yeah. Like I think like elementary school, right? Like that should be a place, like I think like by the time you get to high school, like we should be kind of moving away a little bit from generalized education and kind of like let people experiment with what they want to do. Like maybe like in 9th grade, like if you want to do law, then like all your classes are kind of centered around law. Like, okay, so Abhijit, this is where I want you to weigh in. So like I know the STEM is kind of like this, right? Like if you want to be an engineer, then like your math is relating to engineering and like all that. But like I don't think it goes far enough. Like I want it to be like really far, because like if we have a system where in high school you're done with the generalized education and you start to go specific, like, okay, I want to be a lawyer. All the literature you're reading is now on like law. You're maybe like learning like basic math so that you can like understand like maybe criminal stuff better, like how they do their reporting or whatever. That'd be cool. And then like maybe like next semester you're like, nah, I didn't really like that. I didn't really like law, so I'm going to switch. Now I want to go into science. You can do all this. You're still accumulating knowledge, so it's still positive, but you're getting closer to what you want to do. And students are going to be more interested in it because they're doing what they want to do. And if you don't know what you want to do, well, at least you're doing, process of elimination. Yeah, law, I didn't like that. Okay, science, yeah, I didn't like that either. But I do think I would be a really good, a writer. I like writing. That's where I'm good at, and that's what I'm interested in, and I want to pursue that further.
Yeah, I mean, like the sad part is we're actually really, really far from that. Because even in like a specialized program like STEM, even though I was in the engineering program, I still had to take language arts classes, right? I still got to take 4 years of language arts. I still had to do history. I still had to do even like lower level comp sci courses that I already could do, because I was programming at home and stuff, but I still had to do it because it was mandatory. So making those things mandatory, imposing those restrictions on what you can learn and can't learn, that's dangerous. And I think we're pretty far from the future. Like,
so wait, did like your history class, it didn't like really relate to engineering at all?
No, it's history. I mean, that's how it is. So
like not the history of engineering, like
no, nothing like that. I wish, man, that would be pretty cool. But
yeah, like I feel like that would be dope. But like then again, right? So history is an interesting topic on this subject, right? If you don't teach Americans generalized history, like that could lead to a lot of problems in how our nation runs. Like if you don't teach them generalized information on how government works, that could be a problem too. Like people need to know how the government works. So like, yeah, I don't know how you balance the two. And honestly, who's to say what we learn?
Mm-hmm.
Like like honestly, how does that work? Who decides, okay, all the students need to know chemistry? Who says?
I mean, there's like a committee, the like California Board of Education, but like
What makes them credible? Like what, that's what my point is. But my math teacher, we had a discussion like this before, and I don't know if I need to fact check this. I never actually looked it up, but she was saying that in the 60s, when we started to rival the Soviet Union, and like who's going to go to outer space first or whatever, I guess we changed our education system to where like science and math just became like way more rigorous and way more focused on, because we wanted to create more scientists so that we could beat out the Soviet Union.
Mhm.
To me, that
I
seems
think
pretty
I think it
useless
was
now.
something else as well. It's not just that they changed the education system for that. They kind of also like changed how society favored engineers and scientists. I think that was a big part of that. And maybe that's kind of what we need to do now. We have to change the way, like people view reading, for example, right? So maybe it was like they set a societal favoring towards engineering and science.
Yeah. Um, on reading, I think, Brian, I think you were telling me that our attention spans like there's actually like scholarly reports that our attention spans are like down to like 3 seconds now or something, like it's going down.
Yeah, it's super super short thanks to, I mean, the internet and all these social media apps that really capitalize on, those quick like dopamine hits of you just scrolling. It just makes your attention span so short.
We're literally rats.
Yeah, I mean, literally, like, when when you go to the movies, you see people like, pulling out their phones in the middle of the movie because they can't sit through the whole thing. Like they have to actually check their screen.
Yeah. So if that's the case, like, is reading like a lost idea? Like, are we kind of screwed?
I mean, in some sense, yes. But the question is like, what's replacing it? You know, like, are people watching educational? Like, if you were to take a book and put it into like an educational video, like a 30-minute long educational video, and you get the same exact thing that you would get from both, is that the same? And are people actually doing that? I would say people are probably not doing that. And I mean, in some sense, like, I mean, there's a lot of good knowledge in books that I think people are just like not reading.
I would say that I feel like I read a report somewhere. Once again, I need to fact check this, but like reading literally like does things to your brain that nothing else can do. Like the way like it works. So like I feel like reading it has its benefits alone, just like the act of reading itself.
But at the same time, I think you can consume the same amount of information in a different way. So, like for example, Khan Academy, right? I use that a lot this year for just like studying for my classes and stuff. And the way you can represent information on a video is obviously different than you can through reading, right? You can appeal to sound, you can appeal to like showing a diagram or something like that.
Like visuals, more
Exactly.
senses.
Exactly right. So I think that's probably even better. It takes reading a step further, because now you have people who there was like this study that they did, but some people can only learn in like some ways. Like some people can learn better while reading. Some people can learn better while watching. Some people can learn better while listening. So there's different ways to learn, and I think video kind of appeals to all of them. So that might be like a different avenue in the future.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I think like reading, like the thing that's so cool about it, right, is like an author is like, I think it's one of the best ways to engage in critical thinking and like transfer your exact thoughts. Because like you could write something out and you got to think, okay, how can I best explain this? And then like you rewrite it, you fix the sentence, you use better words to better articulate what you're trying to convey to the reader. And so like reading, it's super amazing. But like something that I was telling my friends, right? Or no, not even my friends. I put this on TikTok. Get this. When you have a professors write books all the time. I could buy the book from the professor and read it and gain a lot of knowledge from the same person instead of just taking a class.
Mm-hmm.
Is that not the case? Or put it this way. When you go to school, you read a textbook. You read a textbook. You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't. Maybe you guys are looking at me like, okay, what this guy's saying? But like, you get what I'm. You do get what I'm saying or no?
Like reading is a core part of how we consume an education in the current
I'm
educational
saying.
landscape.
I think I'm getting into self-education, which I wanted to talk to you guys about too.
Huh.
Like, I really believe that you can basically almost learn everything from self-education besides like some specific things, like you might need some teaching, you might need like actual hands-on experience to really get it. But dude, like a professor that teaches you writes books, I could read the book from the professor and gain basically the same thing.
Yeah. A lot of colleges, like I took a lot of classes where pretty much the professor wrote a book and the whole class is based around that book. So he says, okay, everyone, like, here's the Amazon link, buy it for like $10. And then the whole class is just the book. Like it's literally each lecture is a chapter in the book.
But let me get this straight. Your class that costs, I don't know, what's it cost? Like a couple $1,000?
Yeah,
for a $10 book.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, I guess you can make the argument, you're seeing the professor right there and you get to ask him questions about the book. But I mean, I don't know if that's
worth
justified.
Another few $1,000s. No.
Yeah, exactly.
Fraud.
And
that's
so, I mean,
fraud.
yeah. And the fact that they plug their own book is a little weird.
Okay, we got unlimited minutes. Cool. What is your thoughts on the SAT, ACT, and standardized testing?
All right. Well, obviously, I don't think like just a focused math and language arts test is going to really gauge a person's ability for anything, because that's not specialization. Even like a very math focused major like engineering, right? Like, I don't think I'd be pretty surprised if Elon Musk would get like a 1400 on the SAT. Just saying.
Really?
Okay? Have you seen that guy's public speaking skills? He can't put a sentence together to save his life, right? So all I'm saying is that it's not necessary for intelligent people to be, really good at these standardized tests.
No. Go ahead. I wanted to make a point. Well, hold on real quick.
So it shouldn't be very stressed on like, okay, you have to be good at this test in order to get into this college so that you can go and get this degree. And it's kind of like builds up.
Yes.
So I don't really think it's not the right way to go.
You know what's crazy too on that point? Elon Musk doesn't even have an engineering degree.
No way. No, he went to like some school in Canada, right?
He has no education. No, he has economics and he has physics.
Physics. Yeah.
He doesn't have a degree in engineering. Yet he's one of the greatest engineers of all time. That's my point on like just because you have a degree doesn't mean you're educated. Like the dude doesn't have a degree. So what, is Elon Musk not a good engineer then? He's not credible, right?
Yeah, no.
Okay, but anyways, Brian, what were you gonna say about the SAT, ACT? What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, it's really just a way to compare yourself with other people, right? Like, okay, who got the highest grade, and depending on who got the highest, scored in the highest percentile, that determines whether or not you got into get into a university, right?
Yep.
I mean, it really doesn't measure much except your general knowledge of things on a very surface level. And like, I mean, I don't know. I think, the purpose of education, besides, having a more well-rounded population, is to get a job afterwards, right? That's one of the points. And so I would say that to be generalized, you can't get hired off of general knowledge, right? If I know the surface level of everything, no one's going to hire me, right? Like you have to have specialized like skills, and very specific. The more specific your skills are, the more value you provide to a company or wherever you want to get hired, Yep.
No, 100%. You're so right on that. Do you have any comments on that or not? Because I have another point that it's on my mind.
That's absolutely right. Go for it.
Okay. Let's talk about the corrupt monopoly that College Board is, okay? College Board is literally a monopoly. Someone tell me how they're not a monopoly. You have
waiting for this one.
Dude, I had a tweet like had tweets about, I literally like wrote like 9 tweets on College Board like a year or two ago, whatever. They're like they're getting retweeted today because like people are, they're searching up College Board and people are like, oh yeah, this guy's right.
Yeah.
Anyways, dude, what company in order to go to college, you have to do the SAT, right? Basically, right?
Mhm.
Does that not sound like a monopoly? Like, that's a monopoly. They're the only ones that basically hold it.
Well, you have the ACT, right? One other
Okay,
company.
so they're both okay. So basically, there's basically two of them,
But AP, and I noticed you guys said IB, right?
Yeah.
That's something different.
IB?
My high school has AP. Did you guys have AP or
Yeah,
not?
IB. Yeah. So IB is kind of just like a higher form of AP. Honestly, it's kind of stupid, but anyways,
Wait, but you guys had like IB tests at the
yeah,
end of the year?
yeah,
Well, that's if
And
you took an IB. See, it's weird because you could be in the IB program and not take any IB classes.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
really weird, but
What?
but it's basically AP classes, and then like the last 2 years is IB classes, and they have their own tests too. So it's kind of a mixture of all, but it's basically the same thing. I'm pretty sure IB testing goes through College Board too, right?
No, it doesn't go to college. It goes to colleges, but
Not through College Board. Okay, but
Yeah, AP is College Board.
okay, but get
They
this.
have like a monopoly.
Dude, you have to in order for College Board. Now this is just kind of nitpicking, but I think this is crazy. In order for College Board to digitally send my scores to a college, I have to spend what, $10 or whatever it was? Are you kidding me? What is that?
No. But this is the most concerning part for me. Okay, so every year they make you pay $98, right?
For what?
And for the test, for the AP test.
Oh yeah. Wait, I thought it was like I thought it was like 70 or 80 or I don't know. Okay, whatever.
At my school, it's $98.
It's corruption. But go ahead.
All right. And this is the weird part. So before I try to rationalize. I was like, okay, maybe they got to pay some guys to make the test. They also got to pay for the paper that's being printed on. Then they got to ship it. This year it was online. Why is it $98? They didn't have to do anything. What was it for? And on top of that, the test material was way less. There was no multiple choice, right? So that's like half the test gone out the window. So what am I paying $98 for? That's the danger of a monopoly. There's nothing. There's no competition.
Yeah.
There's nothing to worry about.
And dude, like there's nothing we can do. Like literally, the colleges are basically they get to choose this. So like I feel like the colleges are kind of like I don't know what the right word is because like this is gonna sound so unlike they're in bed. Okay, they're in bed with College Board. Like think about it. Like if there was someone else, like they get to choose. Like if USC says you have to do this and I want to apply to USC, then I have to do it, right? Because I mean, I want to go to USC. So how else am I supposed to get there if that's the rules for me to apply?
Yeah. I think perhaps what colleges want is they want a reason to justify their price tag, right? So, okay, so we're super prestigious university and we vet all of our very smart students through these criteria. And they say, okay, they had to jump through all these hurdles. And because they did all that, that proves that they're worthy of coming to ours, which means we get to charge them, $40,000 a year.
That's a very smart way to look at it, yeah.
So they just want to like justify why it costs so much to go there because it's prestigious, right?
Dude.
And it's prestigious because of all those hurdles.
Like, do you know like Harvard has a surplus of money, like billions of dollars in surplus?
Yeah.
But didn't they ask for federal aid because of the coronavirus thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They returned it. They returned it. But like, so when I hear, oh, well, we can't give out any more scholarships, you're lying. You're literally lying. You're lying. Dude, they're straight up lying. And they're still charging.
Yeah, no, they like give out their money to like 30 different hedge funds to like invest it. And like, they really try to like increase the value of their endowment. I think they had an endowment problem in like 2008 where like, I think their like risk meter was too high and they like lost like half of their endowment when the economy collapsed. So like, I mean, a lot of these colleges are basically like banks, dude. Like they just get all this money and try to like play with it in the markets,
And dude, it's basically all built on reputation. Like, I don't know about you, but I want to know what value this person's going to bring to my university if I want to take them in, right? And like, to me, it's like if you're basing it off of some scores and some grades, and not like the total package of what that person's going to bring to the university, I think you have a flawed system.
Mhm.
I really do.
Yeah.
And I just think that's crazy. But yeah, dude, colleges are built off of brand. It's literally branding. So like, if they're older, they must be better, right? And so like, then you get into the whole thing of like, colleges are like the ultimate source of knowledge, the ultimate source of authority. And like, I'm here to say, no, that's not true. Because if I could read a book by the professor, like you mentioned earlier, that's still the same knowledge, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, we could have taken the same class. I could have been at UCI taking this class, and I could have said, hey, Elijah, here's the book. You want to read it with me? And you would have basically been taking the class as well.
Exactly.
You know?
But I wouldn't
like
be qualified, though. I wouldn't have the degree, so I'm not credible at the end of it.
Yeah, it's just that certification. And what's so crazy to me is these first 2 years of college is GEs, general ed, right? So you go to college, you pay, 15 to 40 grand a year in order to learn general stuff, right? Surface level stuff that you're not even going to use in an actual job, right? So Harvard freshman English is, I mean, how different is it going to be if you take freshman English at like UCI or like a community college? I mean,
yeah.
freshman English is literally this. I mean, the content is not that different, right? Now, once you get up to like the upper div classes, then you could potentially make an argument, UC San Diego or UC Davis has a better computer science program than like UCLA or something like that. Then you could kind of start seeing like in the upper divs, but like the GEs, I don't understand really what the point of GEs are, especially in a college environment where you're kind of, you have to like get specialized skills, right?
I think colleges just want to say, oh, well, our students are well-rounded and, all this nonsense to make their egos bigger, right?
Actually, wait, about this well-rounded thing, right? You hear it a lot in like high school and I'm guessing in college as well, right? What is it with being well-rounded? That doesn't serve anything. That doesn't serve the employer. That doesn't serve you. That doesn't serve society. That doesn't serve anything. What is the point of being well-rounded? Like,
I
why
think,
do they emphasize that?
yeah, I think the reason, I guess some people make the argument that if you're well-rounded, you're like a better like citizen of your country, like all kinds of different things at a surface level that you might use in your daily life, but probably not. I mean, like it's really like there's some general stuff that you should know, addition, subtraction, maybe some basic history of the US and, how civics and government works. But beyond that, I would think it's like, what are you interested in? Let's show you all these different things. Pick the one you like. If you like it, go down that path. If you change, here's XYZ option.
How about we make people well-rounded, but in practical knowledge, right? Like something that like actually I don't understand, which I think that you'll appreciate since you're a philosophy student. Why don't we in high school have a class like the self-education class where you teach kids, because you teach them the laws of logic, because I believe that if you know the laws of logic, you can then decide things for yourself. You can learn things. Is this good? Does this make sense? Right? Like literally the laws of logic, right? The law of non-contradiction, ad hominem, just literally go down it. Or we show them how to decide if something is true or not, like show them how to like basically teach themselves, right? Different tools. Like that would be a very useful class, because if we can give students the tools to where they can go and learn anything they want to, the world would be insanely powerful. But like some people say, oh, the school system, and I don't know who they is, but they don't want you to think for yourself. They don't want you to learn for yourself. Well, first of all, who's they and why? But yeah, what do you? Yeah.
Propaganda. Like I don't buy that. Who doesn't want you to think for yourself? That doesn't make sense to me.
I don't know. They say like, oh, the elite, they want to hold you down, so they don't want, Who are they though? Like I don't know who they are. Like we always blame they, but who's they?
I mean, the whole like bell system, right? Was you ring the bell and then that means that you have your next class. Wasn't that based off like a typical like warehouse job or like an assembly line worker job where they ring the
Yeah.
bell and that means it's like lunch?
Same thing with grades, like, oh, A grade material or A grade meat, right? So if you get an A, that means you're the best in class.
The way your desks are lined up are also like a factory when you think about it, right? They're in like these little grades. You got one leader, manager in the front. It's really,
Dude, like, what is the whole idea that you have to ask the teacher to go to the bathroom? What is that?
Yeah, I remember one of my elementary school teachers had us in like 4 lines, and then he would say the straightest line that he saw got to go to the playground first. So like we all had to like go in like this like perfectly straight line, and then he would like go up to each and like measure which one.
Dude.
and like see which one's the straightest. And like I mean I would just like stand still. I mean I couldn't tell if we were straight or not. I would just you know. So it's just those like conditioning like stuff, you know,
like be obedient, like don't ever challenge the status quo, don't ever go against it, don't ever question anything. And like I don't like that. I really don't. Like, bro, we're creating a bunch of robots. Beep bop, beep bop. Like, no, dude, like think for yourself. The
thing is, like, most people are actually okay with doing that as well. They'd rather, you know, just, I mean, having a social life isn't bad, but they'd rather have that over like exploring themselves, exploring their field, figuring out what they want to do in the future. So maybe it just comes to
okay, but hold on. Why are they okay with that? See, I blame the education system again, because I think education system is killing curiosity. So then when people just kind of give up on school and intellectualism, they go, nope, not for me. I hate it. I suck at it. Because the education system is making smart people think they're dumb because they can't pass it. Like you said, Elon Musk probably would get a 1,400 on the SAT. If Elon Musk, what does that mean? He's dumb? I mean, you see what I'm saying? It comes full circle, dude. This whole thing is the fabric of our society, the fabric of our nation.
Yeah. You're saying that they basically measure the wrong things, right? Like it's not completely efficient. Like because someone gets a C or a D, does that automatically mean that they're not as smart as the A person in that particular thing, you know?
Isn't like, I mean, what I always hear is like billionaires, right? Something that I hear about them is like failing is how you get closer to succeeding. Like you need to fail a lot. School, if you fail, it's like the end of the world. You suck. You failed. You got the answer wrong. Oh, bad. But like entrepreneurship, right? And like these really successful people, it's like they're teaching like, no, like fail more, learn from your mistakes, and then fix it and move on.
Yeah. I don't think you really get the opportunity to fix your mistakes because like you're saying, it's over. Like it's like the world is over, right? Once you fail a class, you can try and take it back, but then colleges will be like, oh no, you know, you failed the class. Like,
and I'm not even saying like on the whole class. I'm saying like you got answer number 2 wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's stupid. No, he's learning.
And like back to failing, like I think we could all agree, like Albert Einstein's a pretty smart guy, right? Probably. He on his entrance exam to colleges, like back in Germany, they had this thing where you basically have to take an entrance exam, not like the SAT where it's only 2 subjects. They test you on like math, physics, social sciences, all of that, right? He failed every subject except physics. And so he couldn't get in. So that's basically what happened. And I think that just proves how unreliable that metric is.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Like, I think you introduced me to him, Brian, but Ray Dalio, the investor.
Yeah.
I was listening to him. He was talking about how much he hated school and how much he sucked at it. And then, like, I listened to Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett got rejected from Harvard.
And Elon Musk says he doesn't care about your degree and he'll hire you anyways.
Yeah. And we see that now, like you said, you know, with computer science in particular, Google, Apple, Tesla, you know, these tech companies, Amazon, they will hire you without a degree now, if you can prove that you have some exceptional talent or whatever.
Yeah. So I think perhaps this is the question that I asked. So like, what is it gonna take for education to like, for people to actually realize, okay, we need to actually reform
Well,
education?
dude, I have a point on this. The politicians, right? It's the politicians. Let's get this straight. The students don't like it. We don't like the education system. The students don't. The teachers don't like the education system. The parents don't like the education system. The politicians are in the way, dude. Literally, it's the politicians, because if it's not them, then who is it? They're the ones who write the law. Everybody seems to have a problem with it. Literally, everybody seems to have a problem with it.
And you know what's funny about the politicians? It's because we have people who are uneducated that they elect these representatives, right? And then if you were to educate them better, you have better representatives, better politicians, right? So then they could actually reform this thing. So even like something as like far off as politics is influenced by education.
Yeah, no, like literally everything is, I think. But like then again, like I know I've asked this like 2 times now, but like how would you define someone to be educated? Like what do you, because like bro, a lot of people, you know, like who like how are you defining the voter if they're educated or not? Are they educated in politics? Because like bro, if I'm like super genius in science or whatever, but I know zero about politics, I'm not educated in politics according to me, like in my definition. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
So I'd say you probably need to learn how to consume information, right? Like, and how to like weigh different sources.
My self-education class, yes.
Yeah. And then also like what you said, you know, seeing 2 different views. That's especially important in politics, right? Because you have 2 different parties. So
what I just said sounded like a course. I am not selling the course. I meant my self-education class as in like we need to have that be a class, bro. I'm not selling no courses. I just want to note that because if someone's listening, I don't want them to think, oh, I'm a guru. I'm not a guru. I'm not selling no courses.
My garage, my brand new Lamborghini.
Yes, my garage. Here's my new Lamborghini. I'm a millionaire out of high school. But yeah, dude, like I agree, Brian. Like, yeah, like education is super important to everything we do. Like, I think we all agree on that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that what might make people pay more attention is if you have like 90% of employers just not care about a college degree anymore, I think that's going to start making people like be like, okay, like why should I even go to college? And that's going to be like, okay. And then college is going to be like, wait, our nobody's attending our school. Like we need to increase our value proposition. We need to give people an actual reason to come here, you know?
I got a question. How do you think people view college or education in general? Do you think they view it as work and something that you have to do, or do you think they view it as a tool?
I think it's just something that they have to do. I you know, there's a lot of people I think in high school that are kind of just ushered into college, just kind of pushed in saying, okay, you don't know what to do with yourself right now, so just go to college and try to figure it out, you know? And you know, there's a lot of universities that are charging ridiculous price tags that, I mean, dude, the California public school or the UC system for its price compared to private school is actually like cut in half, you know, like if you go to like Chapman or like Pepperdine or any of these local private universities, you're talking like 40 grand, 50 grand a year.
Yeah.
But there's like a reason for that, right? It's not that they just like make it go away. They take taxpayer money, right? And then that goes to the UC system and then they're able to do it. But even then, how can you justify a 30 grand price tag? That's hard to justify.
Yeah, you can. And I think what's interesting is, you know, you talk to, you know, teachers at high schools or, you know, older people that went to college, they're talking about, oh yeah, like I paid like $20 a unit at like a JC back in my day. And it was like, wait a minute, you paid for that little? And I mean, even if you adjust for inflation, it's nowhere near how expensive it is today, you know?
Brian, something that I remember is a video with you and Gary. He was talking about college. He's like, yeah, it's a lot harder or whatever. It's like college now or whatever. Like, right? Is that what he said? Like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. What, why is that? Like, what was it like there that made you change your view on college, or like, what's the view at
Vayner? It's very, I mean, I would say maybe like 50, 60, 65% of people there probably got their BA in something. But I mean, I don't think I ever met a person there that was like, oh yeah, I went to college and it was actually like worth it. Um, Maybe besides, I mean, he has like a couple lawyers that work there. I mean, besides them, I mean, you're not gonna hire an attorney that didn't go to law school, right? Um, so so like, yeah, it's a very I don't want to say anti-college rhetoric, but it's definitely like, okay, college, like they don't really care about what school you went to.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just value like actual intellectual conversations and like how you actually your thought process, how you think, right? And a lot of that is like self-taught. It's not really taught in universities.
That scares me, low key. Kind of scares me.
Yeah, I mean, even like Vayner doesn't care about degrees, and on their job application it says, you could either have a degree or some kind of like entrepreneurial street creds or some other credential that like shows that you're able to actually put in the work, because college really is just about, when you have that degree, it doesn't really prove anything besides you being able to learn, you being able to learn how to learn, if that makes any sense. So like if you go to college, that just shows that, okay, hey, this guy, knows how to be structured, quote unquote. He knows how to, show up on time. This guy knows how to like follow the rules and get an A. He was got in good enough grades to pass to get a college degree, right? So that, I mean, that's really all it shows. But in terms of like actual skills, it doesn't really show you anything. I would say besides a couple, like for example, STEM, CS. I'm not too familiar with like the actual educational space, but I mean, that teaches you like actual hard skills, right? Even if you already know that, I mean, I'm not saying it can't be self-taught, but it seems like that degree translates fairly nicely to after college,
Yeah. I think probably like one of the best ways to learn is experience, like and failure. That would probably be the two best ways to learn. Because I was talking about about my dad the other day, and he was saying like when you get into a company, they have so many training opportunities, like a lot. You will learn so much there than you will actually in college. And that's because one, you're actually specialized, you know what you're doing, you have this position, right? And two, the company has incentive to train you as best as possible. They have incentive because the better you are, the more you're, giving back to them. And so experience is probably one of the best ways. And I've some of my friends have gone to one of my friends has gone to UCSD for comp sci, and he's told me the same thing. Like that comp sci degree, you could probably learn it on your own if you tried, but just that company experience or just experience in general, that's like irreplaceable.
Yeah. And like, dude, every company has different procedures and structures and a different way that they operate. So it's not like what they teach you in college is going to directly transfer over to, I mean, every company is unique in their own way, So it's, you learn so much working at the actual company than actually going to college. It's literally just a certificate that proves that, hey, you're capable of learning. And depending on what the brand of that certificate is like, Harvard, Stanford, and the higher, more prestigious college, that's really all they care about. So then here's the question, right? How can you like self-certify? Like, is there a way for me to say, hey, I got this UCI experience, this UCI level education, I just didn't go to UCI? Like, how is it possible to certify that? Like, is that ever going to be possible?
I would say yes. I'd say yes. I think that it depends on what you want to do, though, because you can't like, oh yeah, I'm a certified doctor, but I have never been to medical school. Like, there's certain things
Right.
no, being a lawyer, being a doctor, science, like stuff like that. No, but like in terms of business, which is what a lot of jobs are, right? Business jobs, stuff like that. Yes. Internships, right? Proving that. But the one that I'm going to really go strong on is social media, right? Like, Gary talks about building a personal brand or whatever. Dude, if you could show your intelligence online, like LinkedIn's perfect, right? You post your thoughts, you demonstrate intelligence, you show yourself talking, you basically show off those skills on social media. You do some internships, you prove that experience there, you work with certain people, you accomplish things. I don't know what, but like something. I feel like that could be a way to prove it.
I know in the computer science field, it's comparatively easy to prove it because you can just build something. That's all you have to do. You can just build a product. And so I know that's what a lot of employers look for. If you've, for example, like won the Google coding competition or something like that, or like a hackathon, or maybe, you've built a startup, it failed, but the idea was good, the product was good. Like you can put that stuff on. That's legit experience. That's, I'd say that's even, in my opinion, I think you guys would agree, that's probably better than a college degree, having those experiences.
Yeah, dude, because you're proving something, dude. You're proving something. It's like, don't show me what degree you have. Show me what you built. Show me what you accomplished. That is way more valuable than saying, okay, well, I'm credible. I mean, okay, why? Can you think for yourself, though?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think showing real experience is way better than just a degree, you know? And within, I mean, takes you what, 3, 4, 5 years sometimes to graduate. Think about, instead of going to college, if you had 3, 4, 5 years of experience, I mean, you could build something pretty meaningful in like 5 years, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely. I wanted to ask you guys, what is the solution then? Like what would you change if you could build your education system for America to make America a more educated society that thinks for itself and processes information well and encourages intellectualism. So you gotta have these things that I want built into it. How would you do that? Like like you're starting on an island, like you're building your own school system now. There's no rules.
Okay, well, I think first you need to define how far general education should go. For me, I'd say that would probably be up until like the 6th, 7th grade. And then after that, you just throw during those 7 years, you throw everything at them so that they know what they're into, what they're interested in, and then that really gauges their curiosity. And then after that, the next 5 years for them would be even furthering it down even more. Like, okay, I like engineering. What type of engineering? Okay, I like medicine. What type of medicine? I want to be a businessman. Okay, what do I want to do? Entrepreneur, marketer, something like that. So by the time you graduate high school, you know exactly what you want to do, and then you can just go do it, right? So at that point, you can either go and make your own business if you've learned enough, or you can go to like med school and
yeah. No, I agree with you, right? Like a lot of times politicians say, well, we need to put more money towards the education system. No, we don't. We need to change the education system foundationally. Like you got to change the whole structure. It's not just put more money on it. That's just going to make the problem worse. I don't really care. We got to change the structure. But Brian, how about you? You're starting on an island. How would you build the school system?
Yeah, I think very similar. I would say you'd have to know enough general knowledge in order to, do addition, math, all that stuff. Some basic U.S. history, perhaps. Some basic, you have to know like how the government works. You have the House of Reps. You got the Senate. Veto bills, all that stuff.
You know what's crazy? On that note, we have that now, and people still don't know how it works.
That's true.
That's true. That is true. Yeah.
But I'm sorry to interrupt. Carry on.
No. Yeah. I think, it's difficult to and then how would you gauge whether or not they grasp the topic, right? And can you force someone to want to know that? Like if they don't want to know it, they won't care,
Yeah.
So maybe and it's tough because how would you create a system that is able to kind of understand what you care about and what you don't? I mean, maybe instead of getting an F and then that means you have to retake the class. Maybe that should be an indicator hey, okay, maybe this kid doesn't really like that class. That's why he or she got an F on it, and that could be an indicator, maybe put them through another kind of coursework or a different kind of class, or look at what classes they did get A's on and put them in more of those kinds of classes, you know, A's and B's. But yeah, I think it would be something more like it would try to measure what people like and then push them towards that. And if you produce a lot of individuals that are specialized, that's just better for everyone, you know?
Yeah. What do you think about homework? What's your thoughts on homework? Is it beneficial? Is it kind of like, I always thought that homework was like, I feel like it was just like teachers felt like they had to give it out, so they gave it out. It never really felt purposeful.
I feel like if you give homework on something you do care about, like you remember when we were in bio and like we used to talk about CRISPR, right? I think if we got homework on that, you'd probably be pretty interested in that, right? So if we got homework on things we learned about that we liked, I think that would be.
But you know what's weird is when I did get homework on stuff like that or things I wasn't interested in, I still hated it because it was like, oh, you have to follow the rules and do it a certain way. It's like, no, let me just do my research on it, and I guarantee you I'll come back knowing more than what you wanted me to know in the first place.
Maybe they make you like write a research paper, like that could be, you know.
There needs to be less rules in the school system. That's my conclusion. I think there needs to be less rules, less structure.
Yeah, no, I think for sure there needs to be less rules because I think the rules is what constrains people. But that kind of like freaks some people out, right? When you don't have any rules, it's like, wait a minute, like there's no structure here. What do you mean there's no structure? And that kind of freaks some people out. But I think people don't fail to realize that sometimes a lack of like, you know, structure is actually good. You know, like you're able to explore, you're able to appeal to that curiosity, right?
Yeah.
I don't really know if structure, I mean, you can't really be that curious in a very structured environment, right? Because you have to like follow the rules. But yeah, I think it's a super complex issue that, or it's very complicated now. It just needs to be simplified, and I think that could like make things better.
Will it ever change?
I mean, like I said, I think if I mean, this is what would be really crazy if employers don't even care about a high school degree anymore. If you had a high school degree and they're like, yeah, we'll take you right now. You don't have to have a high school degree. Then I think people are going to be like, wait, what, you know, why would I continue in high school?
Yeah, okay. On that note, do you think there's too much, I personally believe this, but do you think there's too much weight on credibility nowadays? Like, for example, like we can't trust anybody or do anything if this person doesn't have a degree from Harvard. Oh, they don't have a Harvard degree. What they're saying must not be true. Like, actually, that is an ad hominem, right? You're not actually attacking the idea. Like for example, let me give this example, and then I'll shut up. If you have person A and person B, all right, Bob and Nathan. Okay, if Bob has a degree from Harvard in science, or no, let's say math, and Bob, or what did I say his name was? Loki already forgot his name.
Nathan. Bob and Nathan.
Bob and Nathan. So Bob is from Harvard, right? Okay. Bob's from Harvard. He's a math guy. He says that 2 + 2 = 4. He has a degree from Harvard math. Wow. Ooh, Harvard math. And Nathan has no degree, but he also says 2 + 2 is 4. Oh, Nathan must be wrong then. We can't listen to Nathan. He's not credible. Why? That's an ad hominem, right? Because you're not actually attacking the idea. You're not proving 2 + 2 is not 4. You're not proving Nathan wrong. You're just attacking his character, his credibility. And I don't really think that. I don't think that's. I think we put too much weight on the credibility nowadays.
Well, I think there has to be some credibility.
Of course.
That credibility shouldn't be derived from a degree, right? So.
Well, no, I mean, but it sometimes should. No.
What do you mean?
Like. My doctor, if they're doing my medical, I feel like they should have
you don't want anyone to do surgery on you that hasn't had the proper, qualifications. Yeah. They haven't been through the proper rigor, right? But that's like a very niche scenario.
Very
I'm talking about that,
yeah.
Right? I don't mind someone creating software who doesn't have a degree, as long as they've proven themselves credible to be able to make something like that. So the credibility should be there, just not focused on the degree.
Once again, Elon Musk builds rocket ships, doesn't have a degree. Doesn't have a degree to do that. You could say physics, but that's still not technically, it's not an engineering degree.
Yeah, I think maybe brand might matter too much in education, and people are taking more into consideration brand as opposed to actual skills. You know, brand is not always, it might be an indicator that you know what you're doing, but not always. And because you don't have a brand, it might not be an indicator that you do know what you're doing or not, you know? Brand meaning like Harvard or like,
you know,
you're attaching
USC,
something
Stanford,
to it. Yeah. And like, I mean, I don't know, would you guys hire someone that went to Harvard and got a CS degree there for 4 years, an engineering degree there for 4 years, or someone that worked directly under Elon for 4 years? You know?
I think I would need more data because, like, did they do a good job under Elon? Like,
Right. Yeah.
I'm taking the guy who worked under Elon.
Yeah. So it's like there are some instances where university might not be the end all be all, you know?
Yep. No, I totally agree. And like, yeah, dude, it's a mess. But like, I want it to change because like I really think like it determines so much about our nation, and it could really transform society. Like I really think that we can make more technological progress, more moral progress, even if we were more educated. Like I believe, like on the moral progress part, I believe that people that are more educated, they tend to be more peaceful and open-minded.
Because they think more rationally, you know? Educated people, you know, treat the environment better, right? Won't throw trash on the ground. Educated people, like you said earlier, won't will vote for someone, they'll be more educated in politics, right? They'll vote for people that are mirror their interests, right? So all in all, like having an educated population is good. The problem is right now there's no evidence to suggest that it's actually working, you know, and it doesn't actually give you specialized skills. It's too general. But yeah, how long have we been going for? What, like an hour, 20 or something almost, like
that? Yeah, something like close to 2 hours.
Okay, cool. Any final thoughts? What are your last 2 cents here?
Yes, I'm going to run for office one day, and I'm going to change the education system. That's facts.
Let's go. Yep.
Any thoughts?
I think there's also this stigma around not going to college, right? Like it's almost like if you don't get accepted into a good college or you choose not to go, like that's a scary thought for most people. I'm not trying to be racist, but especially for Asians, including South Asians, right? So
Abhijit is Asian for the listeners, yes.
Yes, I'm Indian, but I think that's also like that social stigma also needs to disappear before we can make like real progress.
Like basically, there's another path to education. Like there's besides education. Yeah.
Well, besides college directly, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like dude, like the whole belief, you know, it's like Harvard or hell, Yale or jail, right? It's like what? No.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think even on that, like you could, I mean, if you go to like a trade school after high school, like you learn an actual like skill, you know, sometimes you're even more skilled than like someone that went to college, you know, like a trade school, like you learn how to do like dentistry work, or like you learn how to like cut hair or like do makeup, stuff like that. I mean, those, if you become like the top 10% in that particular field, like you make pretty good money, you know?
Dude, like I literally never watch him, but James Charles, like the dude makes money.
Dude,
you know, I don't know. I don't know is he makeup, right? Like he's
he's makeup. Yep.
Yep. Dude makes, I guarantee you he makes a nice living.
Kylie Cosmetics, bro. Kylie Jenner, youngest billionaire.
Yeah, but she had I'm not trying to, like, good for her. She works hard, but like she also had she had the brand to help her get there too. Like, I mean, I wish if I had that, would be nice. So
yeah, but I think for sure there needs to be like more there needs to be more conversation of like, okay, I'm paying for this. What am I actually getting out of it? You know? And like, I don't think there's enough conversation on like, it's an investment really. Like college
Yeah.
is an investment, you know?
Definitely.
And a lot of people don't treat it like that. And like, you know, not only investment of your money, but investment of your time too. You know, could you be investing your time better by interning somewhere or working at a company somewhere or going to college for a year, you know? And every individual makes that their own choice, but there's no conversation around that.
Dude, it's like two things on that. One, I think it's the most insane idea that people will spend, you know, a few $1,000s in 4 years of their life just to go party. I couldn't think of a better way to waste time and money. Okay. And number two, I was talking to my friend who went to USC. He graduated the business school there. And he was like, yeah, he's like, Elijah, he's like, you know, if you're going to spend 100,000 and maybe 200,000, if you go there for the whole 4 years, he's like, you know, just to have some fun. He's like, I think of a lot more things that you could do for fun for $200,000. You know, we can get all your friends, go on a big yacht and, you know, go on a nice vacation, go to Disneyland, you know, travel. Like, that's true. So don't just go to college for fun. That's literally insane to me.
But then again, you know, like people aren't educated on how to use their time, how valuable their time is. That's another thing.
Yes. And another thing I would add to the high school like thing of education is like, dude, where's the financial education at?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely missing.
Yeah.
Like money kind of like, it's not everything, but it certainly is a lot. Like it rules a lot of our lives. Like, you know, like that's the whole point to go to college is to get a job, I guess. Right. To make money. Right. So why aren't we ever taught like money and like how
finances? Yeah.
Like how,
and especially so young, like these individuals are so young. If they learn how to save and how to like, you know, invest in like a retirement account, you know, buy a house, put a mortgage against it, they learn all these basic things. By the time they're 50, they'll be all set, you know?
Yeah.
But the most frustrating part for me is that most of these high schoolers, what they'll say is money doesn't make you happy. I hate that. I hate it when people say that.
I would agree though.
No. But here's the thing. You can't dismiss financial education just by saying money doesn't make you happy. Money's job is not to make you happy.
Oh yeah.
That's like going to go buy a car and saying, oh, this car doesn't do my homework for me, so I'm not going to buy it. Like that doesn't make sense. That's not the point of the car, right? Similarly, it's not the point of money isn't to make you happy, but that doesn't mean that's any less important.
Yeah.
So,
I see what you're saying. Yeah. No, actually, I kind of think that's an insecurity and a cop-out for people that say, like, money doesn't make you happy. Like, I think that people that worship money and make their whole life around it, I think that's a bad thing. But for the people that just want to dismiss, like, not learning the financial education or, like, not try to do well financially, I think they're being I think they're making an excuse, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree 100%.
So,
but yeah, cool. Those were my 2 cents. You gave your 2 cents, right, Elijah?
Yeah, I gave more than my 2 cents, I think. Maybe a little too much, but yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's wrap it up. This is Conversations with Brian and Elijah, episode number 15.
Yes, sir.